regularly scheduled meeting of the Henderson County Board of Education for June of 2022. The first item, excuse me, on the agenda would be Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Lawson, do you have a couple of folks in? Oh yeah, there we go.
Yes, sir.
We have folks who are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. We'll have our student ambassadors do our pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
And you're going to introduce those folks
Sure.
that did this?
Our student ambassadors with us today, I'm going to ask them to stand as I call their name, is Miss Jemiah Byram, Miss Sydney Warren, Madeline McCormick, and Janet Mash-Indeed. Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you leading us and being here and for the work that you do as a student ambassador for the Henderson County School Systems. Thank you. Next item would be the approval of the agenda. We've seen the agenda, had the agenda in front of us. If there's no changes needed for the agenda, I'd entertain a motion that we accept the agenda as presented, please.
So moved.
Have a motion from Mr. Alvis. Second from Ms. Williams. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. The vote is unanimous. Next item would be student and staff recognition. Dr. Lawson.
Yes, sir.
The Kentucky School Boards Association Medicaid Reimbursement Program recognizes our district's school-based health service professionals and administrators for their service to students over the last year. For those who may not know, our district partners with KSBA's Medicaid Reimbursement Program to file Medicaid claims to stay in legal compliance and to monitor progress of students on IEPs, among other things. So tonight, we'd like to recognize Amber Van Meter for all of her work. She has done a phenomenal job at increasing our Medicaid billing program. She has continued to find ways for us to bill for services we already provide to help offset budget costs. She ensures that all staff who are eligible to bill receive the training they need. It even goes above and beyond to input billing for classified staff. When Amber began working in Henderson County Schools, we were only billing for related services and special transportation. Now we also bill for health assistance, evaluations, consultation, counseling, orientation, and mobility and assistive technology equipment. We have gone from 20 billable staff to 75. Medicaid billing has increased over $108,000 since Amber began working in Henderson County. In 2021, we were able to receive $427,000 in Medicaid reimbursement. The amazing thing about all of this is that Amber has continued to take this initiative on herself and is passionate about finding ways to build a program here in Henderson County, working not only with special education staff, but with all staff. She truly pursues excellence, embodies the core values of authentic service to all, and own the outreach. And all that was written by our Director of Special Education, Chris Mays, who could not be here tonight, but she wanted to make sure we read all that and recognized you, Amber, for all of your hard work. So if you'd like to step over here, we'll get your picture.
Give Miss Amber a minute. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. This is yours.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I've got it on again. This is the next item on the agenda would be the public participation and recognition of guests. This is the time in our meeting that we allow anybody that's in the public to speak at this board meeting on any matter that is not on the agenda. And normally we would have them fill out a piece of paper and give it to Ms. Robin. Have anybody that wants to address this board? Thank you very much. Next item would be to approve the minutes from our prior meetings. We had a May 16th special and regularly scheduled meeting of the Henderson County Board of Education, and we received those minutes in our packet, so I'd entertain a motion that we approve the minutes as presented, please. Motion from Mr. Alvis. Second from Mr. Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Vote unanimous that the minutes have been approved. Next item would be reports. The first report we're going to hear is from Mr. John Hagan Codell with regards to the Jefferson Elementary School update.
Good news is the project's starting to wrap up, so.
I took your microphone. Sorry.
Is that better? Yes. There you go. Final permits are being obtained. We got the elevator inspection today. Final plumbing's already in hand. HVAC is scheduled for Thursday, and the state building inspector should be on site Tuesday of next week, where we'll be trying to get our certificate of occupancy, temporary certificate of occupancy. A few things that are remaining to be completed: the fabric wall panels in the media center main lobby area. We've been waiting 8 months on. Those are now delivered and in hand, so those will be starting probably the first of the week. The outdoor classroom pedestal pavers, those will be starting this week as well. We're looking to have that finished ahead of Tuesday's inspection. And really, we're getting down to the punch list. The architect he's done a preliminary punch, but he's scheduled for the tail end of next week to come in and do a full actual punch list. So 2 weeks from now, we should just be down to punch list. Outside work, there is still some landscaping, seed, and sod yet to be done. Obviously, I'm not cutting sod this week, so probably will be around the 4th of July, actually, before it cools off for the sod to be going down. But furniture started moving in today. It's getting down to the final finishing touches. I'm happy to report.
Thank you, sir. Is there any questions, Mr. Codell, with regards to the new school? Okay, you have a couple other items for us, sir?
Yes, sir. Got 2 change orders tonight. These were both kind of facility requested items, I guess you could say. Previous change order had requested to mill and resurface the existing asphalt paving areas around the middle school, the entrance drives. When they went to go mill that area, it turns out there was no asphalt base in the largest portion behind the middle school area. So this is a change order to undercut that area, place new stone, and an asphalt base course. We've already paid for the surface course, previous change order, so this is just the undercut, stone, and base course asphalt. So that's the first one, 21-13 to Coberstein. The second one is a combination of 2 things. It is, you've heard me talk quite a bit about those retention basins behind the middle school, all that rainwater runoff that continues to wash those basins out. This is the permanent fix for those retention basins, digging those out, placing riprap in those several areas that continue to wash out. And then also an asphalt perimeter curb on that upper parking lot, the middle school park, what we call the middle school parking lot. Kind of a protective barrier so cars aren't driving off the edge of the pavement into the grass areas.
Dr. Lawson?
I'd request the board approve the change orders that Mr. Codell mentioned here.
Okay, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation that we approve change order 21-13 and 21-14 for base coat and rock paving for the South Middle School area that didn't have it, and then for the retention erosion around the basins behind and the asphalt curves behind South Middle School. So we have a motion from Mr. Alvis that we accept the superintendent's recommendation. Have a second? Second. From Mr. Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Aye. Vote unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Place is looking really good over there, too. It's good looking. Next item would be capital projects. Mr. Hawkins from RBS Design. Is that correct? Come on in.
That's correct.
Hello. All right, so I've got a couple of change orders here on some ongoing projects. Greg thinks it's funny to send me when there's change orders, so that's fine. I do know a little bit about them if there's any questions. I think the first one here is at our soccer locker room project. The way I understand it, this is in regards to relocating a couple of units. That there was a conflict with a refrigerant line that led to this issue. If I get any deeper than that, I might start fibbing a little bit, so.
Okay, this is the soccer room, locker room project for some wiring, some fence, and some drains around that area. Dr. Lawson?
Yes, sir. It looks like this change order is for about $5,000,
Yeah, that should be right.
Yeah.
$400.
Yep.
One of those problems that we probably just, as you get in there, you find these. And so I'd request the board approve the change order that Mr. Hawkins previously mentioned regarding the soccer locker room.
So we have a recommendation from superintendent for change order number 1 for BG 21-297. Have a motion, Mr. Alvis. Second from Ms. Williams. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Aye, vote unanimous.
All right, so the next two items here kind of go hand in hand. This is your BG1 for the upcoming project at the high school, CTE. So there's a brief description that is written out there, but I think you all may understand that scope of work. I'll touch on it just a little bit. We will be renovating a portion of the CTE that wasn't touched in the last project that we all did in that building. Looking at the restrooms of that facility, making sure we're hitting all of our ADA compliances, HVAC as required, and then working on the new culinary arts area. There's a couple of other smaller pieces that'll make up that project, but this is the BG1 to get that kicked off. Any
And the
questions?
owner-architect agreement for that renovation responsibility of $4.3 million. Is that correct?
That's correct. That second piece there is our owner-architect contract for that
Dr. Lawson?
BG1.
We're going to do those both together?
Yes.
Okay. I'd request the board approve the BG1 for the Henderson County High School CTE renovation project, and also approve RBS as the owner-architect agreement.
Heard the superintendent's recommendation. Entertain a motion. We accept the recommendation as presented. Motion from Mr. Alvis. Second from Ms. Williams. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Aye, vote unanimous that we're going to take care of that renovation project and RBS design responsibilities for owner architect agreement. Two national championships.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
I absolutely agree.
Next item.
All right, so this last piece here is a change order at the South Heights project. And the way this one was explained to me, unfortunately, when we get into some of these projects, you know, we provide a basis of design for a few items. This particular kitchen hood, what was bid, while it does meet all the requirements that we need, it was a little considerably larger than what we had anticipated for, and so that resulted in us having to disconnect and relocate some of the gas and piping and things that go to that hood.
So that was a project for about $4,400 in conjunction when we put in the new HVAC at South Heights. Is that correct?
Yep.
Dr. Lawson?
We're getting to the depth of the work there at South Heights. I'd request that the board approve the change order on the HVAC replacement at South Heights as presented by Mr. Hawkins.
Okay, that would be change order number 1 for BG 20-249.
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Alvis. Second for Ms. Williams. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Aye, vote unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Hawkins, so very much.
Well, thank you all for
Appreciate
the
it.
opportunity.
Yes, sir.
We look forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your mic is muted. I bet you do.
I think it was just off. Stephen did it.
All right, the next item would be old business. This is some old business that was tabled from our May 16th meeting for the technology plan and some the second reading of policy 08.113, graduation requirements. Dr. Lawson.
On the technology plan, we tabled that at our last board meeting to do some research in terms of the surveys, the Bright Bike survey. The Bright Bike survey was given once in the fall. Of course, we know these are a plan, and as the plan unfolds, you make necessary adjustments to the plan. And so we didn't give the survey in the spring. We had good data from the fall, and as we went into the spring, and we had a lot of instructional momentum, it wasn't something we wanted to add to our teachers and staff's plate. But we also, one of the highlights of our plan was that we got student feedback, which wasn't contained in maybe some other plans. So very proud of our technology plan, and I think that all of the questions that maybe the board had, that we clarified those in terms of the data and the technology.
Okay. Mr. Haynes, would you have a comment with regards to this, sir?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the 2022-23 HCS technology plan, and if I have a second, I'd like to make a comment.
I'll second that.
I have a second from Mr. Alvis, a motion from Mr. Haynes that we approve the technology plan as presented by Dr. Lawson. Go ahead, Kirk.
I'd like to thank Dr. Lawson and Mr. Chris Gordon for their work on the technology plan. Mr. Gordon has a remarkable reputation among his peers across the districts and with the State Department of Education. I know after reviewing the plan in private, and again, that this plan provides for the collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking needs of our students. The plan outlines a strong infrastructure and equips our staff to do excellent teaching.
Thank you very much, Kirk. Appreciate that. So those all in favor of the plan signify by saying aye, please. Aye, vote unanimous. Thank you so much. Next item would be approved second reading of policy 08.113, graduation requirements. Dr. Lawson.
Yes, sir. We had questions regarding the policy changes for graduation requirements, and essentially what the requirement is that students will take 4 years of English and math, and I think that we've clarified what that might look like. They'll be provided flexibility and to meet the needs in their ILP in those years, and so we've clarified exactly what it is. Essentially, it's the inclusion of 4 years of reading, 4 years of math.
Mr. Haynes.
I make a motion that we approve the superintendent's recommendation to change policy 08.113, graduation requirements. If I have a second, I would like to make a comment.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the superintendent and the motion by Mr. Haynes, and introduce need a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Mr. Alvis. Go ahead, Kirk.
So at the May board meeting, I had not enough information to understand the policy. I met with Dr. Lawson, Mr. Chad Thompson, was also able to provide me with some legislative history, how the policy came to be through KSBA Policy Services and our local implementation of the policy. And I needed a little extra reading, and so that's on me to be a good board member.
You didn't have enough reading, huh?
And Dr. Lawson was able to help me read past policy and provided me what I needed to know to understand. I do notice the detailed change on page 3, board members, with additional language to be very clear about what our students need to graduate high school. And I'm appreciative to the staff.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Motion passed. Next item would be new business. First item on the agenda for new business would be to approve the strategic plan. Dr. Lawson.
Yes, sir. We met earlier, maybe last month, and in a special work session to discuss the strategic plan. Of course, you know, we've been building this throughout this school year. It was something we were going to build in years past, but we couldn't due to COVID. But this year, we're able to gain the stakeholder feedback we needed to assemble our next 5-year strategic plan. So the board's reviewed this in the work session. You've had it in your packet. So tonight I'd request that the board approve our newest strategic plan.
Okay, we did have a special meeting on what was May the 11th. Spent a considerable amount of time discussing this. So at this time, Dr. Lawson, is making a recommendation that we approve the strategic plan as presented, so I entertain a motion that we approve the strategic plan as presented.
Make a motion that we approve the strategic plan as presented.
Motion from Mr. Haynes,
Second.
second from Ms. Williams.
I have a question for the superintendent,
Please.
Mr. Waller. Dr. Lawson, could you explain the relationship between the 4 columns in the plan: students, staff, families, communities, and facilities, please?
Yes, sir. In our strategic plan, we have 4 columns, and they all work well together. And if you'll notice, across those columns, there are 3 bullets beneath each of those, which gives us a primary direction. It gives us goals we can accomplish based on the feedback and data we got from those focus groups and based on the core values of this organization. And I only want to talk about the first bullet in each one of those columns, but also want our people to know these are the 4 most important pieces of our organization: our students, our team, our families and community, and then, of course, our operations make the mission come to life. And so all across, if you'll look at students, we're going to provide a safe, relationship-centered, and rigorous learning environment. We're going to balance relationships and high standards. With team, cultivate a culture of excellence and belonging through genuine relationships, support, and teamwork. And in families, create genuine relationships with families through transparent communication and interactions. And just to speak of those 3, we have 7 core values in this organization. And the one that sits in the center is genuine relationships are the foundation of everything we do. We know that Ms. Stanley and her team led that effort 8 years ago now, and that we want to be a relationship-based organization. We believe that's what makes us special in Henderson County, that we give ourselves, we submit to teamwork, we submit to service, we submit to a genuine relationship, which means there's a back and forth, and the way we work together, those relationships are what moves our big rocks. Those relationships are what make us the organization we are. And then with the last one, with our operations, we prioritize and invest in our people first. We invest our time in the right places, and we are good stewards of our financial resources.
Thank you, Dr. Lawson.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So at this time, we have a motion and a second to approve the strategic plan as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Vote unanimous. Thank you, sir. Next item would be non-resident and resident students. Ms. Casey Farmer-Wolf, you're going to address that for us, please.
Yes. Well, as I believe it's been a year since I brought this up for the first time, so I feel like we've been planning for this for a year. So tonight on the agenda, you will see the non-resident policy that we are asking for an emergency reading. As you guys know, we have waited for a year since this law passed. Finally, on May 18th, we received input from KSBA in regards to the law. And so we present to you tonight the non-resident policy, which will do away with our former reciprocal agreements.
I'd like
Dr.
to add
Lawson?
that too, that Ms. Farmer's done a fantastic job leading this process, and the reason for the emergency reading is the effort of the idea of time. It gives these families time to go ahead and get everything ready for their child, to know where they're going to school, prepare for that school year. So I'd request the board approve the emergency reading of our policy regarding non-resident students.
So you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Entertain a motion, we accept the recommendation. Motion, Mr. Alvis.
Second.
Second from Ms. Williams. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Vote unanimous. Next would be approved first reading of policy 09.12, admissions and attendance. Ms. Wolf, you're dealing with that too, right?
Yes. So if you reviewed the board packet, you will see that this was specific to our foreign exchange students. This did connect with our new non-resident policy. And so what we are asking is to include a bullet that states that we will accept foreign exchange students that live that are residents of Henderson County, and that we will not accept exchange students that do not live in Henderson County. In addition to that, we are asking for a limit on foreign exchange students. The reason for that is due to some issues we've had in the past 3 years. Different companies bring in foreign exchange students, and they are required to communicate with us prior to bringing over foreign exchange students. Unfortunately, they do not always do that, and so we want to make sure that we take an appropriate number of students so that, you know, we feel like our kids have huge benefits from working with foreign exchange students, but we want to make sure that we're using our resources efficiently and taking what we can appropriately handle.
Dr. Lawson?
I'd request the board approve the first reading of 09.12 admissions and attendance.
So you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for approval of this first reading. Motion, Mr. Alvis? Second from Mr. Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, vote unanimous. First reading of the admissions and attendance. Next one would be review and accept the administrative procedure 09.12 AP.22 non-resident student enrollment. You're going to discuss that too.
Yes, this is the administrative procedure that couples with the non-resident policy that we just approved. And this tells the specifics, what our procedure will be. It outlines our capacity and how that was set, and then also the criteria that we will use when considering acceptance of a student, specifically the big three: attendance, behavior, and grades.
I'd request the board approve. Okay. Okay, procedure, we don't have to approve it, okay.
Next item would be to approve the first reading of 09.11 school attendance areas.
Yes. Again, if you will look at this policy, we wanted to make sure that our wording and language were consistent across our policies. We did not create our non-resident policy and procedure to be any different than our current resident policy and procedure. So one thing I did was went through the policies, and we wanted to make sure that the language was exactly the same across the board. And so you'll see just a couple of wording changes and defining a couple of things in this school attendance area policy.
Okay. I request the board approve the first reading of 09.11 school attendance area policy.
Heard the superintendent's recommendation. We accept this policy as presented.
Excuse me, are we voting on two first readings or one?
No. The last one was just to review the administrative procedure. This is a approval for the first reading of 09.11, which is the school attendance areas. Okay. And then the next one is just to review and accept the administrative procedure that would be the operating guidelines. This is just the reading of the policy as the changes that she identified. Yes, sir.
I'll go for the motion, yes.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a motion, Mr. Alvis. Second for Mr. Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Vote unanimous that we accept the approval of the first reading of 09.11 school attendance areas, and now the review of the administrative procedure.
Lastly,
Yes.
again, this administrative procedure is kind of the sister piece to the school attendance areas, and this is the same as the last policy. We wanted to make sure that the language was exactly the same across the board, and you will see that we have updated the language and defined a couple of terms.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. The next item would be to approve the first reading of KSBA Policy Update Number 45, which has to do with Dr. Lawson. You want to comment on that?
Sure. This is that time of year where KSBA sends out the policy updates. There are many of them, and you've obviously had those in your board packet. So I would request that you approve the first reading of the KSBA policy update number 45.
So you've heard superintendent's recommendation. This has to deal with specifically retirement systems and policies related by KRS 160.293.340.345. So we definitely want to approve this rascal.
Make a motion that we approve the KSBA 2022 model policy update number 45.
Have a motion, Mr. Haynes. Second, Mr. Alvis.
Tracy.
No, Tracy.
Tracy?
Tracy
Sorry.
seconded it.
I tell you, I was getting old. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Vote unanimous to accept KSBA policy update number 45 as required. Now, next item would review and accept KSBA procedure update number 26, which
So again, along with that comes procedure updates, and so you all have it in your board packet, and there's a list of these, some to include superintendent evaluation. I would just want you all to be able to review and accept those procedures.
so you've heard the superintendent's recommendation.
I make a motion that we approve the KSBA 2022 procedure update number 26 that accompanies the policy.
That's just a review.
We don't have to,
Yeah.
That's just a
accept it
review.
and-
The next one would be the Student Code of Conduct Handbook, and that would be Mr. Rush.
Thank you. Our committee met, and we only have one change, and it's about dress and appearance. Our elementary principals wanted the shorts to be flexible in terms of, instead to the knee, they wanted fingertip length, for the growth of the students. And they just feel like it's appropriate for elementary students to have the little shorter shorts, the gym shorts and whatnot. So that was the only change we had. The rest of it, we want to keep it going. Thank you.
Dr. Lawson?
I appreciate Mr. Rush and those, that committee that worked on our student code of conduct, and I appreciate them holding a high standard for our students. I would request that the board approve the student code of conduct handbook as presented by Mr. Rush.
So you heard the superintendent's recommendation. We approve the Student Code of Conduct Handbook with one change. I'm not sure there's ever been just one change in it, has it? Always been several. So entertain a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation. Mr. Alvis?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
From Mr. Smith? All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye, vote unanimous. We're going to keep it the same except for one change, Mr. Rush. You going to be all right, Tracy?
It was the shorts.
Okay. So the next item would be just the review and accept the revision of the employee timesheet. No action required.
No action is required. You can see the timesheet here. As you know, beginning in July, we will be on a semi-monthly pay schedule, which constituted a timesheet change. So we are, Ms. Cloutier and her team are working hard to roll that out next month.
So y'all have seen that timesheet change and understand what's going to be changed. Is there any questions or comments with regards to this to Ms. Cloutier or Dr. Lawson? Hearing none, we'll move right along to the Hanover salary study.
Yes. I might. Can you hear me?
No.
All right. In your board packet is the 96 page slide there. At the May 17th, 21 Board of Education meeting, you voted to contract with Hanover Research to conduct a salary study. They conducted this in 2 phases and completed their most recent benchmarking study, June 2022. The company observes today as a national holiday, and since they are unable to attend our board meeting, They sent this presentation to be included in your board packet for review. To highlight their key findings, please see slide 14 that has the Phase 1 recommendations. These include: consider salary increases for newly hired, inexperienced teachers to offer competitive salaries with local and state peer districts. Consider adjustments to salaries for teachers who are either new to the profession or for teachers who have 21+ years of experience. And the third, consider adjustments for staff to match the local cost of living. To highlight key findings from Phase 2, please see slide 40 of the attachment. It notes these recommendations. Consider stipend increases for high school assistant principals and elementary school principals in order to be competitive with local and state peer districts. Consider stipend increases for middle school level athletic and extracurricular positions, and consider stipend increases for assistant principals at all school levels. In looking at this, our goal is to be competitive within the public school districts, particularly within Northwest Kentucky. As you see on slide 18, I apologize to Robin for having to go back and forth. On slide 18, at year 0, our district ranks 6th for rank 3, and then 5th for ranks 1 and 2 in our compensation. On slide 20, you will see at year 10, our ranking elevates to 4th for a rank 3 and 3rd for ranks 1 and 2. Continuing to slide 22, you'll notice that our rankings drop for year 21+, where we are 6th in all categories. As a result of these findings, Cindy Cloutier has taken these recommendations, as well as taken information from the newly passed Davis County Owensboro Independent School District salary schedules, and created an analysis for your review. That is an additional attachment in your board packet. To explain this, it's the one that looks like this, lots of numbers. You'll see in blue the Davis County Owensboro Independent 22-23 salary schedules for ranks 1, 2, and 3. The column just next to that details the amount of the raise to make this competitive among the districts. Ms. Cloutier took the average salary for each of the ranks, then targeted the areas highlighted by Hanover. These targeted areas are highlighted in green on the attachment. At the bottom of this attachment are the figures noting the averages for each rank and step increase. In looking at this and doing so, the proposed salary schedule puts Henderson County Schools more in line with our neighboring districts to the east. Any questions thus far? Yes, sir.
Reading the fine print up at the top, I'm a little confused. That's not an unusual statement. It says 3% general wage increase plus Hanover adjustments. But what you're showing is the end result.
Correct.
Okay. So the end result is, I'm totally invested with the idea of we need to have a competitive compensation package. No problem with that. Some of the other details I'll leave off right now. Okay. Thank you very much.
Anybody else have any questions?
Anyone have questions?
All right. If
Carry
not-
on.
All right, may we move to the next agenda item? And that would be the salary schedule for 22-23. In your packet is the proposed 22-23 salary schedule. It takes into consideration the Hanover recommendations just discussed, proposes a 3% general wage increase for all staff,
and includes any edits and deletions to our previous year's salary schedule. Are there any questions about the 22-23 proposed salary schedule?
Yes, Mr. Alves?
Okay. I've read all this. I assure you, that graph thing is confusing. Is this previous graphic that we had with the colors and all that, is that the same as what you're looking at there? Those
Yes.
numbers match?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Other questions?
No one, other questions? Well, I'd like to take just a second to talk about the work that Ms. Carter and Ms. folks here have done. You all know how important it is to invest in our people to make us as competitive as we possibly can be. To have this kind of analysis and this type of product out here, the measurement that takes, the amount of detail and planning that takes, it's an immense amount of work, and I appreciate specifically these two ladies and the efforts they've gone, the lengths they've gone to help do everything they can, working together to move our district forward. And I would ask that our board approve the 2022-2023 salary schedule as presented by Ms. Carter and Ms. Potier.
I'll make a motion, we accept the superintendent's recommendation as
Second.
presented.
Our
As
staff
presented
work
and
hard.
seconded by Mr. Haynes. And I would like to make a comment. We started on the Hanover study several years ago, prior to Bob being here, and we continued with it. We started with some classified and went through certified, and during the time that we first looked at that was because we were losing some people to various districts close to us as well as across the river. And I know Dr. Lawson has put in several comments with the premise of we want to be the highest paying school district in the state of Kentucky. I'd like to be too. And that's got to be an objective. We have to have objectives and goals, but we can't just blindly go out there and do something. And that's why this Hanover study was suggested, recommended, and the information pulled together by you folks, and it is not easy. It's hard work, and it's hard work making a balance within our budget. But I think it is the best thing that we can do for our district. Money is not everything, but we have to attract folks. And when you begin looking at what the first level of attraction is for people coming out of college with a degree in teaching, they need some money. And we were short there. And then as somebody has developed themselves and establishes some longevity, they leave because they were going to get more money at the longer end of the scale. So we've made some adjustments here. Hopefully this is not the last. We'll continue to move towards that objective of being the highest someday, maybe not, but we want to make sure that we have those things in place that attract the best people. And we appreciate the work that you've done. So we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
All those opposed? No opposed? Votes unanimous to approve salary schedule for 2022, 2023. And thank you very much, folks. Next item would be the consent agenda. We have 12 items under the consent agenda. We have some various school donations. We have various schools for certified evaluation plans. We have personnel work calendars. We have bond for the treasurer form. We have approval for bond for depository of our collateral agreement with collecting money, student overnight trip requests for Skills USA, FFA, dance team, school activity fundraisers for cheerleader change, some indirect costs be applied throughout the district, some approval of athletic guidebook at the high school, approval of some bid recommendations for a vehicle that we didn't get any bids on, and some technical equipment, some grant applications for district reading with the Early Learning Center and other schools, and then some surplus bus requests for 13 buses. So we have 12 items. Are there any items that need to be pulled from the consent agenda for discussion?
I'd like to pull item number 3, please.
Item number 3,
Personnel work calendars.
got it. Any other? Okay, then I'll consider a motion to approve under the consent agenda items 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda with exclusion of item number 3.
Have a motion from Mr. Haynes. Second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Williams. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye, votes unanimous. Approve the consent agenda except for item number 3. And so we'll pull that for discussion. Kirk, please.
I think I know the answer, but I'd like to give Dr. Lawson an opportunity to highlight what this means for our staff. By the way, the calendars look phenomenal. They look awesome. Dr. Lawson, on page 9 is the bulk of our staff, certified employees, the 185 days. We've talked about previously the 4 extended learning days. Would you explain, just remind me again what those days are and how teachers are getting paid for those days, what that means to the pocketbook of our hardworking staff?
Right. Well, I'm glad you asked that, because outlined in our ESSER plan, we were able this year to have 4 embedded professional learning days. These are optional days for our staff, but they're very, very important. And so we've talked about the continual development. Can you hear me okay, Mr. Albert? The continual development of our staff and investing in them as they grow. And the best way to do that is to have job-embedded professional development. So Ms. Cloutier and all those who outlined our ESSER plan together with our instructional leaders, met with our staff, met with different groups, and we allocated funds for 4 additional days of professional development for our staff this year. And what that means is, on top of the 3% raise this board has so generously given, on top of the $1,000 bonus that this board has given, our certified staff will have the opportunity to earn their daily rate of pay 4 times. And so whatever it is they make, according to those numbers you just passed in the salary schedule, they can divide that by the number of days they work, get their daily rate of pay, and they're going to make that 4 more times working in Henderson County schools, all the while developing themselves better professionally and being a better performer for our students. Thank you.
Thank you,
Answer your
Dr.
question.
Lawson. With that explanation, Mr. Waller, I make a motion that we approve the 2022-2023 personnel work calendars.
You've heard the motion from Mr. Haynes. Entertain a second.
Second.
Second from Ms. Williams. All those in favor, unless there's questions, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye, votes unanimous. Approve the work calendars as presented. Next item on the agenda would be the treasurer's report. Ms. Cloutier.
Okay, the treasurer's report for the month of May includes total receipts of $8,794,925 and total expenses of $11,718,577 for a net decrease in all funds of $2,923,652. Any questions?
Any questions of the treasurer's report as presented by Ms. Cloutier? Dr. Lawson.
I request the board approve the treasurer's report as presented by Ms. Cloutier.
Heard the superintendent's recommendation. Entertain a motion to accept the recommendation as presented. Have a motion from Mr. Alvis, second from Mr. Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Vote unanimous, accepting the treasurer's report. Next item would be paid warrant report. Ms. Cloutier.
Okay, the paid warrant report covers the period of May 17th through June the 20th. It includes total paid warrants of $4,866,749.05. Any questions on the paid warrants?
Yes, I have some questions. Page 2, under Miracle of Kentucky and Tennessee, concerto, tall chimes, congas, $66,800 or $383.
It's all playground equipment. Some of it's all playground equipment.
Is
Different
this
kinds of
for,
playgrounds.
is this for Jefferson or for various schools?
It's for various schools, and some of it's for TPJ, the Early Learning Center, and some of it's special ed related.
So the other item in that category, 96,000, is also in the
Yes.
same?
From the ESSER plans, from the ESSER monies, we had set aside funds, and we allocated those to each school to upgrade their playgrounds. $474,000 altogether.
Page 3, $44,900 thrill share service. Is that those inflatable toys?
No, that's gonna be our new, she left, our new, what is it, our new website. It's our new website, it has an app, Apogee. Isn't that what it is? Yeah, it's our new website.
Okay.
I knew that one was gonna come up. Because I saw it too, I said, what is thrill share?
Okay, I had some others, but I'll pass on.
You know, we can question these prior to the meeting if there's something that you need as far as specific related
Well,
information.
thank you.
And I'm not being trying to be funny about it, but I'm sure that Ms. Cloutier can find it quicker than she can remember it in her head if there's a question.
Last month, we had an expenditure of $23,300 and some odd dollars, and it was all for calming devices.
Well,
That's all
that's
paid
been
through,
done.
that's all paid through a grant, an AWARE grant. And we have
It's
to
money.
spend it on special things, but we have a spending matrix that we're required to spend for certain items. And those are part of the items we're required to spend for. It's written in the grant that way.
The
It's
grant
money.
required that we spend 23,000 odd dollars on calming devices?
Yes.
Is that under this month's or
All
last
mental-
month's?
It's our
Last
mental
month.
health grant.
Okay, so that's passed, it's
No,
been
wait a minute,
approved.
wait a
We
minute.
appreciate that.
We have an additional $109 and $46 for more calming devices or calming sensory items.
And as I said, Ms. Cloutier will entertain any questions that you may have with regards to specifics, if you would just present them to her, instead of putting somebody on the spot right now in the middle of a meeting.
Well, thank you for your time.
Dr. Lawson.
I request the board approve the paid warrant report as presented by Mr. Cloutier.
So you've heard the superintendent's recommendation that we accept the paid warrant report as presented. Entertain a motion, we accept the superintendent's recommendation. Have a motion from Ms. Williams, second by
Second.
Mr. Haynes. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
All those opposed? Have
No.
one nay. Motion passed 4-1. Thank you. Next item would be personnel. The first item under personnel would be superintendent evaluation. We had a special meeting earlier this evening at 5 o'clock, and Dr. Lawson has been evaluated by the Henderson County Board of Education for the 2021-2022 school year with a cumulative assessment of accomplished, which meets the standards of our process. He was assessed in 7 areas, which include strategic leadership, instructional leadership, cultural leadership, human resource leadership, managerial leadership, collaborative leadership, and influential leadership. And we've determined that managerial leadership, strategic leadership, cultural leadership, and human resource leadership was his overall strengths. We thank him for his growth mindset, hard work, and continue to support his work in leading our school district. His overall assessment, again, was accomplished. And Dr. Lawson, we appreciate your efforts and hard work. And I will give this information to Ms. Robin, and she'll make copies for you and your records and for each of the board members. Next item would be personnel actions. Please let the record reflect that personnel actions have been presented to each board member and have been reviewed. And item would be last, adjournment of this meeting. Entertain a motion from Ms. Williams that we adjourn the meeting. Second,
Second.
Mr. Haynes, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
All right.
Aye.
We will be adjourned. Thank you.